Hey guys, so I wanted to feature something that's taken me a few years to do, and it's getting flow in the universe. And it's very unique for, I think, Black women, Black American women to do. There's certain ways that I got there that if you talk to other people, they would be like, oh, I wouldn't have taken all that to get in flow, and da 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 da. So I will say, as a Black woman, I came from poverty. So it wasn't easy for some of the things I'm going to explain to you for me to let go of. Okay. When you come from poverty, you come from being people trying to treat you like a second class citizen and microaggress against you your entire life in this country. There's certain things that are just really hard to let go of because you've had to learn to fight, persevere through. And also because of the poverty and the community I'm born to, the wealth mindset and the generosity and the provision isn't there. Barely in the family. You know, I come from a place where my dad's like, well, you pay for school. It's your school. The idea of providing for your kid for education is like, no, you're here, you do it. Like struggle, strife, poverty. I came from that. So some of the things I'm going to say that I had to do to get here, I did it a certain way because of that aspect of our community. But I will also say that there's being in the Black American community and not having those other things that are common to other communities as far as wealth building or providing and provision and protection. So I did it a certain way that I noticed when I listened to a lot of white women and white men who talk about being in flow, those things weren't that big of a concern, but they didn't have those concerns. That's why it's important when you talk to people who are actualized at some event spiritually to some place where you would like to be. Very important to make sure they're dealing with the same set of circumstances because that we have to navigate differently, right? So I just want to put that disclaimer because the way I did it took a level of discipline that other people would say may not have been necessary. But from my background and my sense of security and safety and survival, I need it in order to let go fully. Okay? So this is a story about how I finally came to be in the flow, especially, and now I can talk about it the last year or so, but it's been the last 2 years in a way where you basically just let go of, you have your goals, but you're not so tied to them that it causes you stress. So what that looks like for me is that I've really let go of the things. I've manifested quite a few things. So there's other things I've been trying to manifest that I haven't. But I just let it go. And I got it through acceptance. Because the acceptance was I want X. Either I get X or I get the worst of X. But I'm gonna get something, I'm gonna like it. So that has been my way of getting to flow. Now you can get through flow another way. And also I want to talk about money. Because there was also another way I did through money, and that was with paying off debt. Maybe some of you would say you don't have to pay off debt, but it was causing a lot of anxiety for me. And once I got rid of it, it really helped to even get to a higher state of flow. Now, there might be people who aren't as money conscious, and they're like, oh, you don't have to get out of debt. But I will say debt was the number one thing, which is why right now I drive an old car that's 18 years old, and I just fix it instead of getting on new debt because it took so long to get out of it. It was such a big boost to my nervous system and to my flow state, not owing anyone anything that could be held over to me, that could go to court for, I can be fined for, harassed for. So let's talk about the first part. So you guys have a video on how you manifest things, and that's just through your own cognizance, through the secret. These are only certain aspects. I even go all the way up to beseeching and praying and asking your guys to help. Okay, so there's different ways, but there's some things I just didn't manifest. And I finally got to the point last year, especially, where I'm just like, look, either it's going to happen or it's not. Either which way, I don't care. So I'll give you a few examples in my life where I really made that really big decision. And it was a big one because this is like my livelihood at stake. You know, so I've had an online business since 2013. And up until 2020, it was going just flawlessly. You know, multi-six figures. I'm a real estate investing coach. I was getting constant business. Now, I was doing a lot of work. I was hustling. But then I noticed the last maybe 2020, no matter what I put into it, I couldn't get the same thing out, even if I poured all into it. And then a year after that, in 2021, I started just going, you know what? I'm not going to be putting all this effort. Either they come to me or not. But when I'm working full time on an online business, you're sitting there, you're calling people, you're networking, you're asking to go on their podcast, you're doing Facebook ads, Google ads, this ad, you're doing social media posts. There's a lot that goes into when you're actively working on an online business. You're actively marketing, getting new customers, following up with old customers, doing deals, doing email. It's a lot to go into a full business. It's just you, which is cool, but it's a lot. You're doing email series and this deal and this promotion and this program. And then I just noticed that I put all this in, but I wasn't getting the same amount out. And I just got to a point where I was like, you know what? I did really great for like 8 years. I've supported myself and I lived a lifestyle that I really enjoyed. But I just came to the conclusion, like, instead of trying to milk this for everything, just understand what got me to this point after 2020 isn't what's going to get you to the next point. So I had a choice. I have to do all the things I was doing, plus learn to evolve and use TikTok and use this. And now when I started, I knew all of the Black personal finance bloggers. Now there's 4 times as many, and I don't know any of them. How do I get an introduction? And I looked at the hill of what changed and how things have changed. And I'm like, okay, in order to be relevant at the same level within the same business, I have to transform and I have to do a lot. But remember, guys, I had decided I ain't doing anything. I'm in my feminine energy. I attract or nothing. So I just decided I'm not doing all that. And a lot of this deals with money and love and whatever. But I'm going to give you examples of how just the last year I just decided I ain't doing all that. I'm sorry. I'm just not. So either I get clients or I don't get clients and I don't make money and I end up on the street and I have to go live back with my parents. Either which way, I'm cool. I'm not about to stress about it. Not about to do all this work. I'm just not. All right, bye. Started selling some things on Facebook Marketplace, doing this. I did Airbnb. So I just started doing other things outside of it. And I meant it. The decision has been made. I'm not coming out of my feminine energy. So, universe, you got me. Guides, you got me. Or else this just crashes and I end up on the street. And I guess no one's going to be listening to me then. Or maybe they will because I'm on the street talking about how I'm surviving in the street. It was a big decision. This business that I didn't know would be successful and have a book out of it. I'm, renowned, throughout the world. There's people from other countries who contact me for it. And it's just, I would do so much to get 1 client every 2 months, or I used to get 6 clients a month, right? And so I just let it go. I dropped my prices and I was just like, I'm going to do maybe something once every couple weeks to be relevant, but might even close the Facebook group that has 15,000 people in it. I'm just done. I'm not doing all this. I'm not hustling. As my guide said, efforting, doing. I'm like, I'm just done. What will happen will happen. And when I said if I end up on the street, I guess I end up on the street. My girl will go with her dad. I'll go live with my parents. I'm done. And that was one of the big decisions I made. I just let it go and I just started being a little bit more physical. I toy with the idea of going back to work if I have to. You guys don't understand. I'd rather sell all my items off Facebook Marketplace and get a roommate before I go back to work. But you guys don't understand. Once you've been an entrepreneur forever, it's hard to go back. But that was like and when I said, and this all builds up. Come and give you other examples. So when I say I meant it, I meant I am not doing anything. I ain't doing all that. I'll do this, but I ain't doing all that. I'm just don't got the energy, don't want to do it. It's a bold thing to say, right? It's very bold. Now, mind you, during this time, I do a lot of energy cleansing every morning. I have energy cleansing healings on here if you want to do it energetically, but you can do it any which way you want. Call in yellow light, call in white light. I give you guys all these tools to do this every single day, right? So you don't have to say you can't do it. I've literally showed it to you. So I'm keeping my vibration as high as possible, but I made the conscious decision. Either this comes to me or not, either which way, I'm going to be okay. If I move back in with my parents, at least I have parents. Some people don't even have parents. Grateful for that. Now, what happened after I let go and release is that all of a sudden I started getting more business than I've gotten in the last 3 years, just flowing to me. And of course, when you go into it, they're like, well, your energy was just, instead of all that anxiety and chaotic energy, you had like this, like, I'm cool with whatever happens energy. And that's much more pleasant for people to be attracted to than not. So if you're in your feminine energy, the thing about feminine energy is that if you're going to attract, you have to be careful about your energy. You have to keep it juicy. And that's through cleansing. That's through not stressing. That's through no anxiety. Now you can go the other way and just enjoy yourself. But if you're going to be in your feminine energy and flow and flow with the universe as well, you got to keep your energy juicy. And when I decided, like, whatever happens, happens, I'm done with it, and I meant it, my energy lost all the chaos. It lost the stress. It lost the anxiety. There's nothing there because I was like, what will be, will be. You either got me or you don't. My hands are in the air. You see this? Like, I'm in it too, because you guys know I built a whole thing about money and wanting money and making money. And I'm just like, I'm just not doing all that. So that was just one example of the decision I made. And then about a month into it, I'm just letting it go. I started getting all the clients again. So now I have a steady trickle, not trickle, like 1 to 2 a month. Whereas before it slowed down to like 1 or 2 every 2 months for a year. And I'm like, oh, and I'm grateful for it. And I tend to them, and we're doing great. And we're finding properties or $45,000. This was just last week. So yes, still doing a good service for my, my clients, mostly all Black females who are ready to invest in real estate at lower price points and disfranchised neighborhoods. But it's happening. I was like, oh, that works. Well, that's cool. And the reason I'm not like, oh, that's great, like, it's great, but I'm just like, no, I meant it when I said if I end up on the street, and I ain't doing all that. So this is great. Still not about to go start efforting and doing all that hustle and bustle. I don't have the energy to do that. I'm staying in my feminine. And so that was one example. And I'm still like that right now. Like, I still mean that. But another aspect of it was like, so not getting the money was like sometimes, and it went from a big spigot to a small one. I mean, sometimes I'm like, ooh, that bill ain't getting paid this month. Not in a mean way or bad way, but just like, hopefully it comes in. But then that got me to acceptance. Look, either I get the money or I don't. I'm not about to stress over this. So that was a big one. And mind you, up until all this time, I've had either IT or corporate jobs making 80, 90, 100K, or I had a business like multi-six. So when it slowed up and it dried up, and I'm just like, I was stressing over it, but there was a point at which I'm like, I mean, if I can't pay these bills, I can't pay these bills. If I end up on the street, I end up on the street. If I can't pay this mortgage, I can't pay. Like, I'm not about to stress. Interestingly enough, I meant it. I'm working with my guys, my vibration high. I'm doing all the work. Either you got me or you don't. I'm done. All right. You know what I mean? So either you got me or you don't. And that's where I was. And then what happened after that? Pretty much every time I'm like, oops, I guess I can't pay that, or I guess I have to stop this service in my business. Like, I'm paying for all these services, but it slowed down to a trickle. So I'm like, oh, I pay $60 a month for this, $50 a month for this, $400 a year for this. All of a sudden, it's like I converted it either to the free or I just turned it off, and I'm like, this just is no longer a part of my business. And it's very interesting because I do find parts of my businesses that have sustained me for 8 years because I made this decision are falling off. But even I just get the feeling though that something's going to take its place. I'm allowing it. I'm accepting it. And I'm just letting it fall. And I paid for Vimeo, or I paid for this online thing or Hootsuite so I can give out huge multimedia posts. Canceling all of them, right? Because it had slowed down. And there was, again, is like, either I end up on the street because I can't pay these bills or something happens. And this one's interesting because this one's pretty quick. Like, the other one was like a month later. I keep noticing I have a flow now. This one was like pretty immediately after I didn't pay it. They were like, God's like, here's money. I'm like, oh, money. After I cut and canceled all these things, it just came. But it wasn't because I cut and canceled it. It's because I consciously said, I'm not stressing. I'm either going to get what I get or I'm going to get some lower version of it. I'm going to be fine either which way. And definitely think it's the I'm going to be finding the which way thing that gets it. That really is changing my genetic code, the program I have in myself. Either which way it goes, I'm going to be okay. If I'm homeless, I'll be okay. I got a van. All about van life. I got a whole van. I can camp out. I can go live with my parents. There's ways before this. I'm glad you're feeling this, Tamika. Yeah, no, and I just wanted to share because I do hope it will help other women and men out there to see what it looks like to get this from a Black person's viewpoint. Like, because like I said at the very beginning, go rewatch it. There are things that maybe a white person who is in flow didn't have to worry about or wasn't as concerned, but they didn't come from the lack that I was born into. So that was different. So there's different things I had to do to get here to be able to let go and be okay with it. So that was the second thing when I couldn't pay the bills, and I'm just like, well, on the street or not, I'm not stressing. Whatever. Bye. What you want me to do? Now, mind you, all of these things, I'm not like I've done work beforehand. You've done work beforehand. So I'm not saying bye and I've done nothing. Like I created something huge. I'm just saying I'm not pumping it for I'm just not pumping it anymore. It's already been built. I did the work, but I'm just letting it go. It's like say you build a big business and it's good for 1 year and the next year it's just trickling. Hey, what comes. But you built something. So even if like it's not actively giving what it did in the beginning, like you did build something. So I think that is an important part of this conversation about being in flow. At one point I did do the work. It just didn't give as much result as it did in the beginning to be super sustainable, but like I did. And I think that's an important thing to note as you're going into these own decisions you're going to be making. I'll give you another example. So those were with money. Money's a big one. So I was with the business. I'm like, whatever. I ain't doing all this. I ain't about to meet all these new Black personal finance bloggers. It's too much. And then the other one was with the bills. I'm like, yeah. And then like things in my business that I just paid for, I'm like, I stopped paying. I can't. I've had these subscriptions for 10 years. Wistia, this hosting site, this social media poster, this, gadget. Let it go. What will happen will happen. And it was just been funny. And so even then, last few years, I was manifesting like a divine partner, and my guides were bringing some in. And I just didn't like the goods, at least here in America. The goods are so much better when I travel overseas. It just is. I still had my guides to like bring me in. And I was just like, oh, this is the best you could do over here. Ah. Oh my God. It's like worse and worse. This is the best I was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm either going to find them and I'm married, or I'm just going to have a lot of lovers. Your girl don't mind. She keeps it safe and she keeps it fun. So and I don't, I get attached, but then I don't know. I can handle that. So I'm just like, that's a life too. I got one here who's amazing, and I have one in France I'm giving you guys all my business. So just don't judge me. But it's cool. Love them both. They both give what they need to give. I'm happy. They're very romantic. They treat me great. So either I have a whole bunch of lovers or like I get married. Either which way, Lisa's going to be very happy with her life. Okay? Very, very satisfied. And I let that go. It's so funny because after that, the quality of goods just really escalated up. And I was just like, I don't care. I am going to be good any which way. And so those are the big things. I'm able to manifest little things when it comes to like the relationship and it came to the money. Those are the things can get a little trickier to manifest. But like if I need to manifest like, oh, I need the perfect doctor so I can do this, I can manifest that. Or, I hope when I get there, I'll be able to get this and this. And you get to a place or an occasion, you get this and this. You're like, okay. So there's some easier manifestations when you're in flow, but the big ones, I personally got into flow by saying either I get what I want or I get this lesser thing, but with this lesser thing, I'm still going to be happy. Regardless, I'm going to be happy with this lesser if I don't get this. I am done. And I'm really done. And I'm not. And when I think about it, I said, I'm done. Because the thought will come, I'm done. Either I get this, or at the worst, I get this. Either which way, I'm going to be happy with it. And that has been me for the last year. Now, some things I don't have to revisit anymore. Like the business one, all of a sudden, when I just let it go, when I released it, and I said either on the street or not, whatever, I'm done. And if the wall comes back, I said, I'm done. I'll tell myself, no, I said, I'm done. So, it might come back. I meant it. And interestingly enough, that's not my concern anymore. I'm like, oh, I'm making so much more money in this business now. Good, because either which way, I would have been happy with either or. I am done doing all the work, so whatever comes, comes. And even with love, I'm like really, really getting a lot better, like just quality of people. But I was okay with the other ones, right? If I just like, you don't get the commitment, but I just stay single, which is healthier, and have fun and just enjoy like this male attention with the men that I tend to like, very masculine, very romantic. They take care of everything. So when I'm with them, I'm like, okay, we can do two, one in each country. It's perfect. I usually don't tell you too much about business. So I was like, oh, am I letting this out? Anyways, I was like, I'm cool with this too. Like this does not hurt me. Like this is great. Perfect. So that's funny too. And so I looked back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm okay. And then most recent, so I just decided to sell the home I have in the Hampton Roads area, and I wanted to move to DC. I put my house on the market a month ago, and I put it at a higher price, and I didn't get it. And I was like, oh, should I put it at this high? He said this price. I put it at this high. No one asked at this high, so I'm at this price. No one's asking. Oh my God, but I really want it. And then I just made the decision again, and this was recently, about a week ago. You know what? I don't care. I'm going to leave it here. And because I want this extra money so I can be, and the goal is I want to buy something in DC and I want to buy something in France. So the goal is I get as much money as you can out of the house sale. I don't know if you noticed, it's slowing down. I want to have both these things in place because the city I'm moving to, they have like some big things going on. And I'm an investor, so I'm like, oh, let me get in before they get this stuff out. I'm like, oh, let me get it in. Let me get it in before like all this stuff happens. So a little bit of a stress, a little bit of a time, but then I just was like, listen. Again, I made the same decision I've been making. Either I get what I get at the price it's at, okay? And I'm able to afford a nicer place in Arlington, Virginia, not actually DC, like Arlington, where all the rich people. I don't know. I like Arlington. It's really cool. If you ever been to DC, DMV area, Arlington is amazing. Either I get the 2-bedroom I want in Arlington, which is super safe. They have like 1 murder a year. And I'm able to get a 2-bedroom apartment in France, or I drastically lower the price by $100,000. I don't get any of what that is. And I have to get a 1-bedroom in the middle of the worst neighborhood in DC and a small studio apartment I barely like being in France because that's all I can get because I had to drop the price so much. And I'm like, you know what? I guess I'm moving to Southeast DC. I'm just kidding. I guess I'm moving there because I would be able to afford it if I dropped the price that much. And I meant it. I'm like, well, I don't know if you've been following my spiritual channel. I'll clean this neighborhood right up. I know I can do it. So, I'm not worried about that. I know there'll be crime, and there'll be an extra layer of maybe stress because I'll have to do a lot to spiritually protect myself against it, which is just extra work and time and effort. And in some place where I don't have to do as much work to spiritually protect myself and my house and my belongings and my kids, because that takes active time and protection. I'm just like, whatever. I even go to a studio apartment in DC in the worst area, crime ridden, and I get a studio I can barely afford, but I'll have it and I'll be happy. And I'm there. And it's funny enough, as soon as I made that decision, I'm like, I don't care. So I'll leave it for this for like 2 months. If by the end of December I don't see anything, I take it and drop it. It's fine. Okay, hold on, Layla. I'm almost done with this talk, okay? Hand it to me, though, so I can charge it. Oh, we're close. Here, come here. Read your book, okay? All right. Oh, Chevy Chase is nice. I mean, worse than that. I mean, worse than Chevy Chase. I mean, the worst. I'm like, either we gonna do that or not. I'm over it. I'm done. And it's funny enough because like and I hadn't got any viewings in the 2 weeks. As soon as I made the decision, I'm like, whatever. I get one for 2 hours today, this morning. And I'm like, that's funny. Oh, cool. Because I said what I said and I meant it. Either I get enough to get something nice in an area I like, or I get it in the worst area I can. And it's a studio, and me and Layla are going to be sheltered in place in a studio and not a 2-bedroom like I want it. But whatever the F, I'm done worrying about it. I'm done stressing about it. Either we get that or that. Whatever, like, bye. I'm done. And again, like I said, I noticed, look it. I got like a 2-hour viewing this morning, not a 30-minute, a 2-hour. I'm like, okay. That's nice. But it was like another, like, okay, as soon as you make the choice and you're not struggling, fighting, I want this. And you just go to, for me, it's just been acceptance. But I've noticed every time I do this really big acceptance, even if it's like I'll end up on the street, I'm done. Whenever I said I'm really just done and whatever happens, I'm going to be good either which way. Every single time it sort of worked out to be better. And even in this, because like, me traveling back and forth to France, that came after I just decided to be like, okay, I wanted this for and that actually came when I decided in the business. I'm like, you know what? The business did be great for 8 years, but I'm trying to put so much into it and I'm not getting as much back. And I'm done. And that's when I switched to like, well, let me see if I can travel. And I learned how to budget travel and get over to France and like, let me learn the language. And I realized I can do it. And then with the shared guardianship I have with Layla and her going to school with her dad, I can go over there for 2 weeks, 10 to 14 days out of the month, right? Like I'm about to drop her off and be gone for like 15 days, right? And I can do that because she'll be with his parents for the holidays, and so plus the extra 5 days. So it's really adding up. And me traveling started when I was just like, okay, I'm done. I'm not doing all this in my business. And I refocused to like, I'm going to travel. Now we can. COVID stuff is done, null and void. I think a lot of people are embarrassed about what happened during those 2 years. But like the decision has been made, and now instead of trying to go more money and milk my business and do my business, I'm just like, whatever happens, and I'm just going to focus on traveling. And so that avenue opened up, and now I'm like, wow, I never would have imagined that I was living this life where like going to DC and now with me moving there, make it more convenient because all the cheap tickets are in DC and New York, so I'd be able to take a train or a bus to New York or a bus or the metro to Dulles and get the cheapest flights to Europe. And I'm like, I never saw this. Even if I live in the worst part of the worst area with all the worst crime, because that's all I can afford, I'm going to be good either which way. And all of this came from this lifestyle that I'm currently living because last year I said, I'm done. So every single when I said I was finally done striving and efforting in all of these very, very, very big ways, that's when, once I do it and get once I do it, I am probably going to go to Americans and tell them about what I did because I'm still doing it the same way. Just with France is a little different because they have higher taxes and you want to do it with more affordability because they're going to get pissed off at you and do something if you take housing off the block. But yeah, so I will definitely go into my experience as I go through it, hopefully by next year. And so every single, even the lifestyle I'm living now is in flow with like just a different vision. And all this is pulling back from more and more and pulling back from like, okay, if I just do this, to like letting it go. But really, I think the key is just being comfortable. What if that worst case scenario happens? Can you be okay with that? Can you be okay with like, I'm done and worst case happens and I'll still be okay with that? And for me, this feminine energy journey is a big part of why I'm here, right? And so part of it's like being in that flow state or being in that feeling really good and not having to do anything but attract. A lot of it, I mean, you do have to give up doing so much and organizing so much and leading and networking in this. So that's where I decided to be, and that's where I'm at. And every single time I feel that, oh man, I got to do this, I'm like, okay, give it up. I'm done. Whatever happens, okay, this happens or this happens. So I'm very logical. I'm like, this could happen, or worst case, this could happen. And just being okay with that. like because you've decided, I'm done. I'm done doing. Done doing. But every single time in this flow state, it opened up this avenue. Like, I didn't see myself selling my house and being in DC, but once I said I'm not doing all this for my job and I'm just going to dedicate myself to the travel, which I've always loved and enjoyed because it enriches my souls, and I grow when I travel. Pisces are ruled by the feet. When I asked my guides what it meant, and it meant, what's a what? Someone who steals stuff, a crook. Once I decide, yeah, like a burglar or a rob or a thief or something. So, yes, let me finish this. Okay, okay. So once I was, what was I saying? I was just saying flow state and deciding and being okay with the bad. Oh, okay, travel. Yeah. So investing all that time and energy in my business and saw it's not giving back to me what it had before so easily. It opened up to travel. Pisces are ruled by the feet. And when I asked about it, they said it's travel. And it's funny because travel's always been a very enriching enjoyment, the three magi in the Bible, they heard about Jesus, and all of a sudden these three men saw the star, they came, they met on the road. That's the Pisces life. Like you're traveling to share good news, to learn more, to spiritually grow, to meet Jesus, and you meet other people on the route who also enrich your experiences. And it's so synchronistic and it's by chance, right? And so all that opened up when I said I'm done with that, and all that energy and effort went to what I truly wanted to do, and I didn't have to wait until I was retired for it. Be strategic, be different, sell some assets, but not retire. So that opened up when I made that decision. So not only did the money did start trickling in, because I guess my energy was better, I dedicated to things I really wanted to do and enjoyed doing. Not something I had been doing for just the love of money, just money alone. And so that was, and all of this is really hard, I think, for Black women to get to because we came from so much poverty. It's not necessarily easy. So that all came from this too. And then, so that happened. And now in this flow state, I'm like, well, let me sell the house in Virginia Beach and just get a small condo, even if it's a studio out there. So then it's easier, even cheaper to travel. I don't have to do the 3 hours or 4 hours. I can get the $400, $500, $600 tickets out of New York or DC, right? Because I can take the train. And let's just keep doing this. And all of a sudden, but I love living up there. That place is amazing compared to the Virginia Beach area. And then I'm looking up, I'm like, oh man, I could take this tango class and go to the French embassy. They're having a da-da-da-da-da, Beaujolais event. I'm like, oh my God, this is so fun. So this is a flow state that I got. Just letting go and going, I'm not doing all this. It either comes to me or don't, but I'm going to focus on this. Whatever happens. If the worst happens because of doing this, I'll accept it. And it's not easy to do. Not easy at all to do. But I just wanted to explain, if you guys wanted to start doing this, it does help get you into that flow state, going, I either get what I want or I get this lesser thing, but I'm going to be happy with both, and I'm done. And be done. Done means I don't care anymore. If the thought comes in your mind, you reprogram it to what you said, you're truly done. There's absolutely no more going towards that goal anymore. It either happens or it don't, but I'm out of it. You know what I mean? And you go from there. We're getting close. We're 3 or 4 miles away. And so that's a big part of how I get to the flow state. Now, the other thing is, now some people might say maybe you didn't need to do this to get to the flow state, but a big part for me to feel secure was getting out of debt. So if you guys have been following me, I sold some of the rental properties I had, and I had a lot of debt. So instead of having $100,000 in the bank, I paid off all my debt. I would have loved to have that in the bank, but I paid off all my debt. But that was also a big part of calming the nervous system. I'm going to do a video on the nervous system and how that's a big part of being in the flow state. But that was a lot of anxiety. So all of a sudden, the life I'm living where I'm I end up on the street, well, it's because I did that. that leaves it so I can move around. So I don't need to work a job as much. When you don't have debt, you don't actually owe that much money. To live and survive, if you don't have debt, it's not that much. It's like 1,500 or less. If I get the Lexus I want, that's an extra 600 plus escalated insurance. But I don't. I have a whole 2016 Honda Civic. I sold my Honda CRV last year, pay for her private school. Now her French private school, whatever. I have assets, so you sell them when you need it. Think like the wealthy do. So the getting out of debt for me was actually a big part. So I would say for a lot of you guys, if you can focus on that for 2, 3, 4, 5 years and really get out of debt, it's going to be a lot easier to be in flow because then you don't actually need that much money. So say I was homeless, I don't have a whole bunch of debt. So if I was living in my van, which I did create my van. If I was living in my van, well, guess what? I only need $1,200, $1,500 a month to survive. I don't need a full-time job for that. I can do something part-time and I pay for it. So I will say personally, now there might be someone who say like, don't even need to get out of debt to feel this way. I will say for me, a big part of having the calm and stress-free was getting out of debt. It took a lot to get that way. But I realized that debt is soft slavery. Debt is a form of enslavement that's very subtle. You don't realize, even having mortgages or a large mortgage, you don't realize how debilitating it can be. But it really, really is. It really is debilitating. So for me, that was a really big part. And so a lot of this, now that I'm thinking about it, really comes down to some of it just money. And like really a little bit detaching from just really detaching a little bit from trying to get so much of it and just letting go or paying off debt so you don't have this constant leak of money coming out, which forces. So if I had debt, I have to work. I can't be so nonchalant about it. So that's why getting out of debt was a really big thing. Money and spirituality are very much entwined. Now, how I feel now, Layla, just 1 second, how I feel now about it. And now the way money's been apparent now that I'm in this flow state, because I'm just like, whatever happens, I'm done. Now that I've reached it, regardless of how I reached it, I'm actually starting to think money's limitless because I'm like, man, I haven't worked in a minute, but man, it'll find a way to get to me through a check, through a random selling this. It does come. Like, you don't need to work a job and have a steady paycheck to get it. It's interesting. Like, I'm starting to add up all the different ways money. I sold stuff on Facebook Marketplace, made $200, $300, $400 when I needed it, or this. I had 1,000. This came in. Like, it's very interesting that you don't actually need money or need a job to get money. It's been very interesting, and I'm literally at the point where I think money is a bit limitless. I literally think that. I'm like, oh, it's unlimited. Don't worry about it. And that's so hard to tell someone who's still in that mode, right? Like, I just want to finish the conversation, Layla. Just keep reading your book, though. You can't have your head in the phone the whole time. And so getting out of debt was really helpful for that. So if you're wondering about, do I need to get out of it? I would say if you do, it's very helpful. If you can find the flow state without it, please leave your notes in the comment that you're able to find it without and give us some information on it. I personally felt better once I did that. It gives me a lot of freedom and open it up. But for you, if you're able to get to the flow state without needing to pay off debt, and if you could please just let us, other women, know so you can help them as well. Figure out how we can get to this place and have to do or struggle so much and still live the life we want. So personally, mine came through acceptance and being okay with the worst case scenario or the best case and still being okay with it and really being done. And your actions aligned with that, because when you're done, you're not worried about it anymore. You try to think about it, it's done. Your energy and focus goes somewhere else to what you want to do. Generally, I try to do, well, what do I want to do? And when I bought my house, it's so funny. I was just like, you know what, either which way, either I get this and I live, with all the drug addicts, with me and my daughter, or it sells for what I want and I get the place in a nicer place that has less crime. Either which way, we're going to be good. And I can clean it up and ask my guys to help me clean it up. That's all we're going to do. But even when I made that decision, I was like, and you know what? And if it takes a little bit longer to sell, like I'm really enjoying taking all the dancing classes. Like I'm taking Latin and salsa and tango and merengue classes now. I'm enjoying that out here. And it's very physical. I'm spending all this extra time losing weight, right? Because all, the stress and worry that you put towards those other things, once you say you're done, well, now you have all that big amount of stress and worry and all that energy. You can put it in yourself, which I highly recommend. And pretty much I always go back to like, okay, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? What do I want to do? Once I make the decision to let the cards lie wherever they may, let the cards lie where they lie, right? Wherever the cards fall is where they lay. And being okay with that, your energy goes to something else. And if it goes towards something of you taking the time to think about what you want to do, that also keeps you in a high vibration and flow state. So it sort of feeds on itself. So as soon as I feel myself anxious, I make the decision, I'm done. I'll be good with this scenario. I think about it, this scenario, that scenario. I'm good with either or. And then I let it go. Yeah, I'll make you some guacamole. Have a seat, baby. Unless you want the whole world to see you. You want the whole world to see you?
What do you mean? Not the whole world was seeing.
Well, yeah, like 7 people, honestly. You're correct. You're correct. Okay. I get more than 7 people who watch my videos. Right. So hope that makes sense. Hope that like made it physical and contextualized some of the ideas surrounding being in flow. Some of the there's so much. It smells like a whole bunch of alcohol in here. It's my sanitizer. It's so strong. You used a lot. You used a lot. So yeah, so that's it. Acceptance, being okay with the worst case scenario, taking that energy and putting it, what do you want to do? Because you let the stuff that's stressing you let it go. He said, either this happens or that, whatever, I'm doing this. And usually if I'm doing this, it's like things you really want to do and focus your efforts on that give you some sort of fulfillment or whatnot. All of this sort of is a nice little beautiful loop that catches you from getting too anxious, brings you back to things you like doing, which brings and attract things that you were trying to get anyways when you were efforting, but now you're not efforting, you're just enjoying yourself. So now it can get to you. And then again, there's going to be something else that causes you to stress. And you're like, okay, no, I'm not doing it. I'm done with this. I've decided either this happens, da 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 da. What I'm going to do is focus on just having fun, going to my salsa classes, taking care of this little one, and losing weight. Boom, that's it. Boom, boom, boom. And it's like a beautiful little cycle I'm in now. And I've been in it for the last couple of years. So hope this helps. I'm very logical. So this is very like, I literally have this script and system to take me back. So if this helps, I hope it does. Please leave in your comments if you've ever gotten in flow. Are you becoming in flow with the shifting vibration as we raise higher in elevation? And let everyone know if you're able to do it without paying off debt to still feel that sense of ease and flow. For me, that was a really big part of it. And now I'm not going back into debt. It's so funny because I literally have money in the bank right now, but I'm just like, I need a new dress. I'm gonna have to go to the thrift store and see if I can get one. I am not paying $100. Like I literally have the money, but I don't know. Like I don't want to do anything like because all my life now is travel. Even though I can afford it, I'm like, well, an extra $100, $150 or whatever. Well, that's like half a plane ticket, or that's like my meal, or that's my da 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 when I go to France. So it's just I'm in a different place. So financially, so even if I have the money, I'm still in this like. And I don't mind this place. It's just a way of thinking just differently about things. Because I am trying to stay out of debt and always have enough cash for whatever I need. So I'm making very conscientious thrift, secondhand, eBay. I just got this beautiful leather skirt that would have cost $400. Trust me, it's long leather skirt, $30 off eBay because I know my measurements, right? And I'm just like, I'm never going retail again. But that's where I am. I just decided we're going to stay budget. We're going to keep money in the bank. We're not going to go into debt. And this is just the life I'm in, right? And this is just the mode I'm in. And we're going to travel every month to France. I'm actually starting to get friends in Paris now. So
No,
So,
my banana.
I all saw your banana, Layla. So this is what we're doing. Hope that helps. Give me your thoughts below. And that's been me for the last couple of years. A level of I don't care and remaining unbothered on level 20. Just being okay with worst case and just deciding I am done. I don't care if it's a relationship. I don't care if it's parents. I don't care if it's anything. This can help everyone just really being done, accepting the worst or best, and focusing all that extra. Once you make that decision, focus that extra energy on you and watch the results and let us know. All right. Bye, everyone.
And make sure to like and subscribe.
Make sure to like and subscribe.